Thank you, Jason David Frank.
And Mr. Saban.
That's Tom.
And that's Chris.
Deco, what's today's topic?
This episode is the third installment of Science of the Morphin Grid, and will cover teleportation.
Alright. Can't wait to talk about that, so stay tuned.
It's PRNT time.
This is Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger. You are watching PRNT. Wow, wow.
Welcome, Rangers,
To this episode of
PRNT,
your source for all things
Power Rangers.
Teleportation. We've seen it in some of the Ranger series, but how much of it is actually possible?
It is our next installment of Science of the Morphin Grid. So, Tom, why don't you go get suited up?
Alright. It's science time. Right.
Looking good as usual.
Thank you.
Alright, so, as usual, I'm going to ask you some questions, and you're going to blind us with your scientific knowledge.
Alright, sounds good.
Alright, so let's get started. So depending on which series you watch, teleportation can mean a few different things. Like in Star Trek, you have the disintegration teleportation, and there's many different types of teleportation out there. So, what we need to know is, what does teleportation mean from a scientific point of view?
Well, scientifically speaking, teleportation is the transfer of matter or energy from one point to the other without traversing the actual distance.
Okay, so that's already a difference between what we see in Power Rangers and actual teleportation.
Right. In the Power Rangers universe, we see them turn into like light beams and particles and then fly through space and time to the point they're teleporting to.
Okay, so if it was scientifically accurate, they would disappear from where they are and then instantly reappear where they wanted to go.
Right.
Okay, so we've made that distinction between Power Rangers teleportation and the definition of teleportation.
Correct.
What are some other examples of teleportation?
Well, when most people think of teleportation, they think of people or an object actually being disintegrated, shot somewhere, and then reassembled somewhere else.
Kind of like I said before, like with Star Trek.
Right.
Okay, so now the big question, have we seen any of these examples of teleportation in real life?
Sadly, no.
Okay, but didn't I hear something a while back that scientists had achieved teleportation?
Well, what you heard actually is called quantum teleportation.
Okay, so what is quantum teleportation, and what does it have to do with our favorite quantum ranger, Eric?
Well, first off, quantum teleportation doesn't deal yet with macroscopic objects like people, okay? Instead, it deals with subatomic particles like photons, electrons, and even some atoms.
Okay, so we're talking about, like, really tiny objects then.
Right.
Okay, so scientists have been able to take these small objects, like photons and electrons, and make them disappear and reappear other places?
Well, no.
Okay, so what is quantum teleportation then?
Well, it's kind of complicated to explain, but I'm going to try my best, okay?
Okay.
Bear with me.
Yeah.
Quantum teleportation is more like making one particle act like another over a great distance.
That sounds very confusing.
It is. So let's try using our imagination for a second.
Sounds good.
Okay, I want you to imagine 3 people. Let's stay in theme, okay? Let's say we have Wes, Jen, and Eric. Okay, and they're all separated by a few miles between them.
Okay, yeah, I think I can see that.
Now, suppose Jen wants to send a message to Wes.
Okay.
So she prepares a photon, okay, and sends it to Eric, who's acting as the middleman.
Got it.
Wes, on his end, he entangles 2 photons and then sends one of those to Eric.
Okay.
Okay.
So, before we move on, what does entangle mean?
So 2 photons that have been entangled behave in the same way and cannot really be discerned from each other.
Okay, so Wes had 2 photons that are acting in the same way?
Right, and he sent one of those to Eric. And even though they're separated over a distance now, they're still going to act the same way.
Okay, I follow you so far.
So far, Eric has 2 photons now, okay? One from Jen and one from Wes. Remember, the one from Wes is entangled with the one that Wes still has. So even though they're separated, they're still acting like each other.
Okay, gotcha.
So what Eric does now is he entangles the 2 he has. Okay, so he entangles the 2 photons, the one from Jen and the one from Wes. Okay?
Okay.
And because Wes's 2 original photons are entangled, okay, the one still with Wes begins to act like Jen's. Because Eric then entangled Jen's and Wes's photons. So now, the photon Wes has is acting like Jen's because all the photons are entangled with each other.
So, in short, this means Jen successfully teleported a message to Wes.
Right.
How then does this relate to disintegration teleportation, or the teleportation we see the Rangers perform?
Well, the theory of quantum teleportation isn't limited by the size of the object we're teleporting.
So we could quantum teleport a human?
In theory, one day, yes.
So why haven't we done it yet?
Well, for one thing, we would have to put all of, say, your atoms in a quantum state.
Sounds painful.
After we do that, we have to entangle your atoms with another set at a distant location.
Okay.
Now, here's the big problem. Entangling is so delicate that it can be disrupted by almost anything.
So how do we prevent that?
Well, some scientists have proposed quantum teleporting a virus, and to do that, to get rid of all that extra interference, they want to put it in a vacuum.
Could humans survive in a vacuum?
No. Now, when I say vacuum, I'm not meaning like your push vacuum. I mean no air, okay, like the deep vacuum of space. So, you have no air, and it's extremely cold, and you're going to die very quickly.
So, quantum teleporting humans is a long way off.
Right. And we have to first, isolate you, prevent you from receiving any outside data, which could disrupt the entanglement process, and we haven't yet been able to figure that out yet. But like I said, it's not limited by the size of the object.
So if we overcome all the obstacles, we could quantum teleport a human.
That's the theory, yes.
Something to look forward to. Tom, I'd say you've done it again. By using science, you've given me hope that one day I could be a Power Ranger.
Thank you, I tried.
Thank you so much for subscribing, sharing this video with your friends, and of course, ringing that bell. If you go here, you can like us on Facebook.
If you go here, you can follow us on Twitter.
And if you go here, you can follow us on Instagram.
And remember, as we sign off, our hope is that the power will always protect you.
Let's power down.